For about 10 years or so, I've been thinking about making a video about this H&K P30, just kind of sharing my opinions and thoughts and my perspective on this particular variant. It's the Kocher variant. I came about to own this pistol because I started off my career with a federal agency that issued H&K pistols. It was a large federal agency. The H&K pistol that we were issued was the LEM variant, and initially I hated that pistol just because I felt like the trigger was odd. I thought the reset was too long. Anyways, I've long since gotten over those biases, but when I left that agency and went to a local sheriff's department, I was excited to get away from the H&K and try something else, but I was concerned that I had so much experience and training with that pistol and so much range time that I was concerned about training scars, going to a different pistol, which I think is silly. But I was young and overall inexperienced, and so my concern, invalid or valid as it was, I opted to go with another HK. There was a local Air Force base, and I was in the National Guard at the time, and so I thought, well, I'll get the gun at the PX, and you pay for it, and then they order it. And so I told the guy I want a p30. I want it in 40 cal, which I've long since gone away from 40 cal, but I also want the LEM trigger. And when it came in, it was this 1 in 9mm, which I'm still happy about. But it came with the Kocher, the double single. And I told the guy, I said, I don't want it. He said, well, you bought it, you paid for it, it's yours. And so I took it home and subsequently qualified with this pistol at the sheriff's office. My concern with this was going to be the double single, going from the initial shot, the initial first firing of being a heavy double action, and then the single action. So I guess my main concern at that point was just difference, the difference in that first and then follow up. I would, briefly touch on that. I would say that within the first year that I was at that agency, I did have to deploy my firearm. I'm not going to go into details, but I would tell you that under stress, I don't recall that first, that initial trigger pull being an issue. I don't recall it even being a consideration. Having said that, I would still prefer, something that's not double single. Well, I did a lot of, of course, cleaning this firearm and inspecting it. I noticed a couple things about it, that of all the reviews of the P30 double single that I've watched, I've never heard anybody mention this. And so I'd like to just kind of cover that, give you this to look at while I do something in the background really quick. That's my Colt that was modified by Nighthawk. Bob Reeves there at Nighthawk was just a pleasure to deal with. Very respectful and just a positive individual. So anyways, if you notice, there is right here. Let's see if I can get it to focus. Come on. Okay, so right here, that's a trigger block. Right here is going to be the actuator for your firing pin safety. You'll notice that when you pull the trigger, both of those things move. So the firing pin block goes up, and of course this isn't gonna, okay. The firing pin block goes up, and that hammer block moves down. This hammer block right here. So when you trip the decocker, all it does is disengage the sear, as if you pulled the trigger. Obviously, there's a couple of things that are not moving that move when you pull the trigger. So right here, you'll see a cutout. That is where the hammer block goes under. And this isn't something I recommend doing, but I'm going to do it for the sake of this video. You know, when you pull the trigger, it goes under that hammer block. Subsequently, this disengages your firing pin safety, which is right here. So here's what I'm going to submit. You know, I'm not personally recommending that this be carried in a condition that is loaded with the hammer up. That's not the point of this video. I'm just making, I guess, conversation here. This, unlike a Glock, I would contend, has two safeties. The trigger and your firing pin block. When I discovered that, I approached the sheriff that I was working for at the time. Well, let me back up. First, I called HK because I couldn't find anywhere in the manual that said that if this was to be carried, it needs to be decocked. Nowhere in the manual does it say that. And let me just back up a little bit further. The agency that I worked for was a large agency, over 20 to 25,000 law enforcement individuals. Whether or not this is good info or not, I am not certain. I've not verified it on my own, but for example, at the academy alone, we logged 5,000 rounds through our pistols, maybe a little more. We had to log everything in a logbook. We were told that H&K designed that LEM trigger at the request of this agency, that they wanted a double action only pistol that had the characteristics and trigger feel and pull of a single action without a safety. Obviously, the federal government's not going to let you carry your pistol loaded in this condition. This agency didn't want a first double pull. So that's what was explained to us at the firing range, or in the classroom rather, by the firearms instructors, that the LEM trigger was designed with that agency in mind. So the way this is designed, it got me to thinking, certainly in my opinion, it is every bit as safe to carry loaded chamber in this condition. Now, the Glock is kind of a pseudo double single. It's, it's kind of half cocked. So it's not it's not an apples to apples comparison, but other striker fired pistols are essentially loaded hammer back, if you want to put it that way. So I called HK, spoke to their customer service, and this was 2011, I believe it was, years ago. At that time, I heard that they had a reputation of not dealing with civilians. Well, I wasn't a civilian. I was a law enforcement officer, peace officer. This was my duty weapon, and I was calling in to talk about that. They were very gracious and very happy to talk to me about it. And I asked them if this firearm was designed to carry chamber loaded, hammer cocked. They assured me that it was in fact designed to carry it that way, and perfectly safe to do so. I never have. I did approach the sheriff and I explained everything to him. He says, nope, our policy is that you carry double single. That's it, period. So I didn't give him any pushback on that. But I guess the purpose of this video is just to kind of share that perspective. Again, like I said, I'm not recommending that it be carried that way. I'm just making conversation. I think that it's interesting that it's obvious when you break down the firearm and inspect it that it is a very safe firearm to carry in this condition. But nobody of any videos I've ever seen on this firearm have ever explained that or even suggested that. I know that one particular video, Nothing Fancy, when I was a deputy, I binged watched his videos when I was on night shift. Really, it was a very low population county, one deputy on till 2 in the morning, with the occasional barking dog call. You really had nothing to do. And so I would watch his videos. He makes a video about this, and he comments on how the decocker is in such a strange place. And initially, I was inclined to agree with him. One of the reasons why I didn't go with the 226 was because the decocker was here. Well, I would tell you that if you're at the range, you load your firearm, say you forget to decock it, and you holster the weapon. You don't have to remove the firearm. All you have to do is decock it. Additionally, that also applies to an OIS. We'll just say it that way. Your high stress situation. You've just had an encounter or an engagement, and you holster the weapon. Well, that weapon is going to be removed from you immediately by responding officers, whether it's a state agency, that comes in, that does the investigation, or it's your own agency. They're going to remove that firearm from you. You holster a weapon after an incident like that is cocked. Well, you don't want to hand a cocked weapon over to another officer. You look down and you're like, oh, well, doggone it. You just reach down, decock the firearm. So, I understand, and this isn't, obviously not a dig at Nothing Fancy. I love his videos. Binged watched many of them. But it's just, I guess, difference in perspective. Really, I don't know what else to say about it other than you know, if there's a disagreement, let's just be respectful. Let's be civil. There's no reason to be hateful. Obviously, if you want to, I really could care less. But let's just be productive and not tear each other down. So, anyways, that's my particular perspective on this firearm. I would say that I still want to get the LEM version. I think I'm gonna do that next. I don't want to get rid of this one. I've only got probably 500 rounds through it. You could tell it's pretty holster worn. Even the butt of the magazine is really worn out, where it's just sat next, you know, dug into the seat there. It's really only got about 500 rounds through it or so, mainly just qualifying rounds and a couple others here and there. But I think this is going to go to retirement. Right now I carry it just, you know, conceal carry. Even the sights are just really starting to fold over right here, just from getting banged on various things. But I still lament the fact that he ordered the wrong gun. I've never really moved on from it, as far as, you know, every time I think about it, I think, doggone it, that guy. So anyways, just wanted to share my perspective on this particular variant and see what people think about it.